Got a fun project ahead of me this afternoon in digging up this canna lily. You can see it's gotten its first frost, so I believe it's gone dormant and is ready to go. It's the first season we've worked with canna lily, and in this video I'd like to share why it is that I'm really excited to start trying to propagate this plant more actively, save seed, save tubers, and regrow from them. And I'd like to share how to properly store them for the winter, but I can say pretty definitively, I don't know, because I'm a novice with this. So in this video, you're going to learn how to properly store canna lily roots for the winter, not from me, but from the comments down below. Let me explain. The community around the Edible Acres channel is just so lovely, and between everyone that watches these videos, there is knowledge around how to properly work with canna lily for an overwintering in a cold climate. I know these are tubers that can't necessarily survive here over winter, maybe if I mulched enough, but I'd like to be really careful with them. And even though it's floppy right now, this summer this had some beautiful tropical red flowers. Hummingbirds seem to really particularly like them, which was lovely to see. This is Canna indica, and to be honest, I started this spring with a few of these with just the most weird roots. Back in late May, I found at an Amish nursery tubers that looked kind of like this. Really dried out, pretty haggard, weird looking things. They were $2 a pop, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to spend $10 and get 5 of them. And that small, weird, dried, unlikely tuber is what ultimately became these plants. And this is probably the biggest one out of all that grew. They expanded out immensely, and you can see there's even new growth out here. So I'm going to dig this right now and cut them back, and then I'm going to invite folks to share in the comments their experience of what to do next. Let's get to it. Part of what really draws me into working with this plant is the leaf structure. The flowers are beautiful, and the fact that hummingbirds in particular really like them, that's icing on the cake. But having more plants in the landscape with extremely broad leaves is very useful from a syntropic agricultural standpoint, or basically having your own mulch, your own biomass being produced on site. If we can crack the code on being able to store these over winter and start them out again, plant them in the field, and then be able to go down the field with a machete and harvest leaves to mulch transplants and things like that. That would be a really useful additional bonus with this plant. And I find I could just do this with a machete, but the stalks are really juicy. There's a ton of moisture in there. The leaves rip pretty easily as well, so if I needed a good handful of mulch somewhere else, I can accumulate that and use that. And then these stalks will break down, I'm sure, into really beautiful material in the soil later on. For now, I'm just going to lay it in a walkway. That's going to let me actually get in and do some digging here and really see what's happening. You can see just how much growth this put on this year. We had a dry time for a month and a half or so, and I've noticed every morning there was a wetness around each canna lily, and I suspect they actually drew moisture in from the air overnight and rehumidified the soil around them. So I think this is a plant that really loves lots of moisture in the soil. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, but it feels like it's one that also is capable of drawing moisture out of the atmosphere and putting it in proximity and feeding the plants around it. It feels like a very generous plant. Let me dig it up. We work with a really wide range of plants in our systems, like hundreds of different types of plants at this point. And this is in the realm of probably the most generative plant as far as root material in one growing season that I've ever met. Sorry for the weird angle here, but it is what it is. So all of this came from a single small nugget. It feels like it cleaves off in ways that are reasonable. That's how I've been working with it, is basically breaking it down as I dig and leaving it like this to start drying. I'll show what I've been up to in a moment. I'd love to get feedback from folks. I think that might be the original piece or some smaller portion of that. And it generated all of this. Part of my interest as well is Canna indica is considered a prized edible root in a lot of cultures. I don't have any direct experience with that. Canna edulis is considered even better, and we're working with Michael Longfield from Interwoven Permaculture. We're going to do a trade this fall and get some of his Canna edulis to try to overwinter and work with. But if we could eat a root of that size, I mean, this is an immense amount of food. It's heavy, it's dense, it's beautiful, really, really weird to be working with such a tropical plant. Banana family. That is the yield from a single $2 nugget in a bargain cardboard box at an Amish market back in May. And we probably have like 15 or 20 pounds of roots here. So there's the yield from this one plant on a tray. What I've been doing is as I lift them, so I cut the stalks back, but I leave a little bit of length just in case there's more material or energy it wants to draw back into itself. That feels intuitively correct, but I'd love feedback if I'm either correct on that or wrong. It doesn't feel like it's reasonable to wash them, but just to let the soil slowly dry and then dust that off a little bit later. And I think as they dry, when they dry down a bit, I can snip these off or leave them. I'd love to just leave them, but let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Do you trim all those feeder hairs off before storage? And the biggest question will be what to do with them from here. So I've got 3 of these bread trays, some of them completely filled from our first experiment in growing canna lily. And these have been in here now for a week or 2. The skins have dried down and tightened a bit. They don't feel like they're desiccating or having issue, so they feel like they're ready for storage. I invite you lovely folks to share what happens here with the canna lilies next. My leaning is to maybe store them on these bread crates, but put a little bit of sawdust on them, or put at least like some brown paper or something to reduce airflow around them so they don't desiccate over winter, but not to put them in really moist media, and store them in root cellar conditions, like where we keep our potatoes. George, what do you think? He has no opinions unless it was a stick. That's the last of our canna digging for the fall of 2025, our first season of working with this exquisitely interesting plant, Canna indica. Next year, Canna indica and Canna edulis will certainly be on the docket if we can overwinter these roots. And that is my invitation to you all to now share widely, thoroughly, give thumbs up to comments that you agree with. And if I find some that people really particularly resonate with or seems particularly knowledgeable, I'll pin that comment for sure. And this way we can all learn how to store canna properly in a cold climate overwintering, and have you all teach us that instead of me. Thanks in advance for all the wonderful ideas. Also, bonus would be in the comments, share, have you cooked Canna indica roots, Canna edulis roots? What have you done to have that work out? So I'm looking forward to reading these comments. Hopefully you all are as well. And I'd like to do a lot more videos in this spirit of like, here's this thing we're experimenting with, and I would love you to teach me how to do it better. It feels a little bit less hierarchical and a little bit healthier for the ego. Thanks for watching.